everyone, my name's Shona. I'm a Thermomix team leader and consultant, and today I'm going to be making the Pizza Bianca in the menu matrix. I'm going to give you some lovely languaging that you can use and questions that you'll be able to ask your customers throughout this demo. Right, so it says preheat the oven to at least 220 degrees or hotter. I'm going to do that a little bit later because my oven heats up really quickly. Then line a baking tray with some baking paper. A great way for you to upsell is offering the Thermomix mat. So if you can have this in your kit, it's a great asset. This mat can withstand 270 degrees heat, and I bake all my breads, cookies and doughs on it. So it is a lovely way to get people to buy things from the mix shop. Right, it says place the garlic cloves and rosemary into your bowl. So I'm popping in some garlic cloves and my rosemary. I often talk about fresh products, fresh rosemary from my garden. And tick those off, push next, and it's going to chop for 4 seconds on speed 7. While that's happening, I often talk to the customer about how quickly can they chop those things in their kitchen. Definitely not 4 seconds. And then I let them view what has happened. The next step is to scrape down the bowl, always remembering that we scrape in a clockwise direction. And it's going to now repeat the process again to make the rosemary and garlic a little bit finer. So we'll just pop that lid back on, and we're going to repeat that step. Right, it then says transfer to a bowl and set aside. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can either keep the rosemary and garlic within your bowl, and you can knead your flour and yeast and water with it to infuse into the bread, or you can use it on the top. I personally like to put it on the top because it makes it really pretty once it's baked. So I am going to remove this out of my bowl. I don't worry about getting everything out because whatever's left in here will infuse within the bread dough as well. So giving you that little bit of flavor within the bread. So we'll just pop this aside and continue with the recipe. Okay, so now it says place 220 grams of water. So we can pop the water in to 220. And then it asks for yeast and raw sugar. I've mixed my yeast and raw sugar together. A tip that I always give my customers, because obviously your customers will be doing this, is when they pop the yeast and sugar into the bowl, just to make sure to avoid the blades, because if the yeast is not in the water, it is not going to get active. Right. So while this is going, I chat to my customers about showing them it's going to take 2 minutes, it's going to go up to 37 degrees on speed 1. And I ask them, why 37 degrees? A lot of people are not aware that yeast is activated at 37 degrees. So therefore, the machine is aware that you are putting yeast in, and to activate it is 37 degrees. So I talk about what else can they use this process for in their kitchen. Always ask questions and stay curious. So while that is going on, we have those interactive questions, and if you wanted to, you could pop back out of the demo and continue with your your demo flow, or you can just stay in there and have banter between the customers and you. asking them what else they're going to use that for, you know, why 37 degrees, taking the guesswork out of it. You know, you're not using boiling water and burning your yeast, or using cold water and knowing that it hasn't been activated yet. Right, so the Thermomix has finished with its 2-minute ferment, and there is my yeast ready to go. So let's go to the next step, and it wants us to add 400 grams of baker's flour, extra virgin olive oil, and some salt. So here is my 400 grams of flour. So we will pop that in. It wants 30 grams of olive oil. Oops, a little bit more. Cooking with love. And then it wants a teaspoon of sea salt. So I always say 5 turns is a teaspoon. So we'll pop that in. And it's now going to knead for 2 minutes on our kneading function, or our kneading mode. And while it's kneading, I will give you some tips as well. So I say to my customers, the Thermomix is hands-free cooking, which you have seen with us making the other dishes. However, when you are on knead mode, we always say keep your Thermomix in arm's reach, because when it is on the kneading or the dough mode, depending on how heavy your doughs are, your machine can bounce a little bit and perhaps do a little dance right off the counter. So we always make sure that you are within arm's reach of your Thermomix. Otherwise, I leave my Thermomix to cook when I go out, or when I take the dog for a walk, or wherever I may be in the house, but not when I am on my dough mode. I also talk about the difference between hand kneading and mechanical kneading. So mechanical kneading is what our Thermomix is doing, and it's going for 2 minutes. 1 minute of mechanical kneading is equivalent to 10 minutes of hand kneading. So if you were to make this bread, you would be standing here for 20 minutes kneading this loaf of this Pizza Bianca. So we have just saved you 18 minutes of time. So that is another great way to explain to people how you can save them time. I also go into what breads are they buying. Are you buying brioche bread? Are you buying buttermilk bread? What about sourdoughs? Things like that. So I talk about the different breads that you could make in your machine by kneading them, making specific doughs, and baking them, and creating amazing breads and bruschettas and things like that for your guests, and for just your Friday or Saturday night barbecues, or maybe your Sunday night soup. So we've got 8 seconds left to go. As you can see, it is dancing a little bit. So that is what I talk about, making sure that you keep your hands on your Thermomix. Okay, so now it's going to ask us to transfer the dough into our silicone baking mat, which is this one over here, and I turn it over. You can either use your spatula to attach to the end and release it from there, or you can just do it by your hand, and it all comes out so amazing. Right, so then what I do is I just put it all together. Now, as we all know, in the winter months, it's a little bit cooler than the other months. So what I like to do is I take a coffee cup and I fill it with water halfway. I pop it into the microwave and I warm up my microwave for 4 minutes, which then creates a warm environment for the yeast to develop. So I'm going to give that a go, and I will be back once we have set this to proof for about 15-20 minutes. So I'll see you soon. Okay, so we are back and we have had our 20 minutes of proofing time. So I'm taking this out of the warm microwave and opening it up. And what I love to do now at this stage is I like to play a game with my customers. So I say to them, put the imagination hats on, and I take my proofed bread dough and I then start with saying to them, imagine this. What is this? And what this does is it gets people imagining what you can do with this dough in various different ways. So they'll tell me it's a loaf of bread. Then I will roll it out and I will say, what is it now? And they'll say it is a French loaf or a baguette. Then I will roll it out even more and I will turn it into a fancy knotted loaf. And I just keep going until, so then I roll it out one more time and I turn it into a Christmas wreath or a bagel or something like that. So I always just give them an imagination for them to be able to see how they can use this basic bread dough for anything really that they want to use it for. I also let my customers know that this Pizza Bianca base can be used for pizzas. So it's exactly the same as the pizza recipe. I just omit the garlic and rosemary. And then I also use this for scrolls for my kids' lunch boxes and things like that. So always give them ideas of the versatility of this dough. Right, so in the recipe it tells me what to do. So I just pull it out, making it flat like this. Stretching it not too much because we want to have a little bit of a rise when it goes into the oven, as well as substance when you bite into it. Okay, so I kind of stretch it out like that. I then put some little divots in it because I'm then going to sprinkle it with some olive oil, and we want the olive oil to sit into those little divots so it can cook really nicely in the oven. Then we take the reserved rosemary and garlic and we sprinkle that over. Another nice way of decorating this up is you can take some olives, you can push some olives into it, you can push some sun-dried tomatoes. If you want to make it a little bit fancier, you can do that. Otherwise, this is just perfect. And then we give it a good dose of some salt and we pop it into the oven for 12 minutes. So I will let you see what it looks like in 12 minutes time.